Fight!
Hello and welcome to the N64 Japanese Eye, and it's time once again for me to delve into the murky depths of Japanese exclusive N64 titles to try to see if we can find another game that you can play without knowing any Japanese language at all. So without much further ado, let's just jump straight into it. The front cover of the game looks absolutely superb. It's really eye-catching, and this continues onto the back of the box. Opening it up, and you come across the player's manual itself, which has a quick controller guide. The cart art also looks pretty good. The manual is in full colour and it's packed absolutely to the brim with so many different photographs, but everyone is always surprised by just how few RPGs the Nintendo 64 got. After the Super Nintendo had so many, fans of the genre were rightly assuming that the N64 would see the next batch of classics. There is, however, another way of looking at this though. It wasn't that the console didn't get many RPGs, the problem was that many never left the land of the rising sun. That brings us to today's game, which is Mystery Dungeon Shiren the Wanderer 2. The game was originally announced as an N64 DD game back in 1998, but after that was cancelled, the game finally made its way to store shelves after being published by Nintendo. Development was carried out by Chunsoft, who worked on the previous games in the series. The story follows the travels of a 10-year-old boy called Shiren and his squirrel companion Copper. The story begins with them wandering through the land looking for some food, when after hours of exploring they come across the village of Natani, where they are welcomed by the locals and most importantly are given some noodles. As they chow down on this delicious grub, a band of outlaw demons descend on the town and start causing havoc. Being the true RPG hero you are, then your cast is the unlikely hero, and you must defend the town by building a castle from materials that you'll only find in the darkest, deepest depths of the various dungeons throughout the land. While the Mystery Dungeon series had always been hugely popular in Japan, it never really caught on so quickly in the West. The game's name comes from the fact that in the series, the dungeons are randomly generated. Heck, if you remember the collaboration between Chunsoft and Square on the PlayStation for Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, then you should start to get the feeling that Chunsoft really know what they're doing with the genre. The first thing that struck me when playing the game was just how beautiful it really is. The game has some of the most vivid and detailed environments at times, and the unique art style really makes this game easy on the eye. The mix between sprite-based characters and polygon environments is something which will divide some people, but for me it's a perfect nod to the 16-bit era, but with a modern twist to keep things fresh. The only downside in terms of graphics for me were that some of the dungeons can look extremely bland. It's understandable as there are a lot of different environments in the game, but when you spend so long sometimes in dungeons trawling for specific items, it can be a little bit disheartening to see the same textures over and over again. I did however love the over-the-top facial expressions that are commonplace in Japanese games. And with the game being very text heavy, it does help to give you a basic understanding of what's going on and who's good and bad. The bulk of the game essentially revolves around walking or running around an area, searching for essential items in dungeons and caves. You'll collect the usual RPG fare such as food and power-ups and have merchants to trade with. As you defeat enemies, you'll gain experience and level up, making your character more powerful in various areas. One of the coolest aspects for the game is the sheer depth of items you can equip Shiren with. As you come across the randomly generated enemies in the dungeons, you'll learn which weapons work best, and you'll often find yourself swapping out your loadout during dungeons to keep yourself powerful and well armed. The battle mechanic is turn-based, and when you get close to an enemy for battle, you will take a turn and so will your opponent. Movement will also cost you a move, so sometimes it can be a little frustrating when you have to waste a move just to get close enough to attack an opponent, but sometimes this can give you the time that you need to make a plan of attack beforehand. You can also move diagonally in the game, which gives you a better sense of movement and freedom when compared to some of the more traditional 16-bit RPGs. There are also other characters who will join your quest, such as Himatachi, who is a water imp who you can use to swim, and Asuka, who is a female fighter. Personally, Riku is the most useful, as he has the ability to make range attacks with his slingshot. The biggest problem that you'll find when trying to play the game is that due to the amount of storyline text in it and the various villagers you'll need to speak to, it can take hours to sometimes figure out where you need to go and what to do. The game is also difficult to find a walkthrough for. Due to the dungeons being randomly generated, you are pretty much on your own once you're in there, and you'll need a huge amount of time for trial and error to work out the items and their effects in the game. Sadly, whilst I love the game and spent hours struggling through it, I really can't recommend it because without knowing Japanese, I felt like I missed a whole ton of the storyline and different areas to explore. There is one solution though. We need to find someone to make a translation patch of this game. We saw the amazing work with Sin and Punishment and also Wonder Project J2, and my hope is that someone, somewhere sees this game and this video and can work on a translation patch, because making this playable for Western gamers would be an absolute godsend, especially when here in the West we were so deprived of great RPGs on the console. So what do you think about Mystery Dungeon Shiren the Wanderer 2? From what you've seen, do you agree with me that this is a game that would be awesome with a translation? Or do you think it's best left in Japan along with many other Japanese exclusive N64 games? Also, let me know why you think we didn't get all the amazing RPGs on the N64 that we were expecting after the sublime amount we got on the Super Nintendo. As always, just let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, thanks for watching.